Oh hey there! Today in this video I want to show you how I got from this to this because it was a very fun project for me. Cost me about £400, but first of all, before I get into it, let's go over a little bit of context and as to why I chose to do this. Now that the frame has been checked at Carbon Bike Repair, it's safe to ride. It's time to give you some context. So last year I was racing on this bike. I unfortunately got involved in a crash and I broke everything. On me. The frame, it turns out, was absolutely fine. The only things that broke on the bike was the rear derailleur hanger and the rear wheel, other than a few scratches and grazes along the frame. This, however, gives me a very exciting chance to really overhaul this bike. And an overhaul it needs, and first of all we're going to start off with the paint job. The paint job that it currently has on it, well, I think is a little bit old school. The bikes that I'm currently inspired by are the old Treknadone team colours and a combination of the new SL3 white and green, and I want to combine them together. Finally, I want to maintain a stripe along the top, and I have a really cool idea for this. Now, for any good DIY paint job, we've got to start with the sanding. Lots and lots of sanding to get this frame back to naked carbon. See you when it's done. Well, there was a job that only took forever. In all seriousness, if you're looking at doing something like this, I've just put in 20 hours over the past 4 days just to get this back to naked carbon. There were a couple of bits where I just couldn't quite get close enough, and that's on the bolt sections of the frame here. But as a whole, it is naked because I didn't want any of the old paints, especially the red paint, and any of the primer interacting with the new paints that I'm putting on here. Unfortunately, I forgot to weigh it before I stripped it. We've got 0.86 kilos here. So now that the frame and the fork are done, let's go get some primer on it, and then with the sanding out of the way, it was time to get my paints ready, and the first thing I had to do was make sure that I covered up all the areas I did not want to paint, such as the bolts and the holes and everything that needed to be covered. I then started to spray 3 layers of plastic primer over every single part and component that needed to be sprayed. Now I've got the base coat on, it's mostly smooth, but there are some bits I don't like, so this means I have the privilege of more sanding. Yay! People are going to absolutely hate me spraying a frame like this with spray cans. Now that the base coat is smooth, it's time to get the white base layer on, and the white is going to be underneath the pearl green. And that main colour's here, pearl green. I wanted to make the pearl green show as much as it could, so I quite literally used the whole 400ml can and sprayed on loads and loads of layers, just waiting 5 minutes in between each layer to make it as deep as possible. This is what that pearl layer looks like here without the clear coat on top, and I think you can agree it looks really nice. I've just been here to Ooey Customs in Camberley, and they've done me a solid here. They've printed me out everything that I need, and it's all here, all the logos. You won't be able to see it now, but when it's on the bike, we'll be ready to use them. Now we're going to go for one of the most technical parts, I think, and that is the decals going on. I think at the moment I've been a bit overcautious, but I think rather overcautious than undercautious. Spraying the decals on is much of the same. It's just about spraying light layers and making sure that it's fully covered. You do light layers to make sure there's no runs underneath the decals. I think it's time for probably the scariest bit. Moment of truth, part 1. Please be good, please be good, please be good. It's good.
Would you look at that? Lovely.
And then it was just about peeling off the rest of it, which I used as a little scalpel to pick up some of the parts and being careful not to damage any of the paint I'd laid down.
Now that looks good.
The final part of the paint was getting some cling film, dabbing it in some paint, and then applying this mottled layer.
This bit's the most scary because if I messed up the lines here, it's going to be the most obvious. It looks so good.
Here's how that stripe turned out, and I'm sure this is probably going to divide opinion on whether people think it looks good or not, but it's my bike and I wanted to keep something original from the original bike. Finally, it was time for the clear coat to go on top, and I did use a 2 component for extra hardness, and I applied 3 layers, used the whole can, so it gave me something to sand down and smooth out.
This frame weighs 0.95 kg I've got in here.
To keep the cost down, I wanted to keep as many of the original parts as possible, and I also didn't want to throw anything away. It was time to get everything back together, so These little Zerts things that go inside the frame, internal cable routing housing, headset and fork, bottom bracket, rear derailleur and hanger, the handlebars, brake calipers and all of the cabling. I did have to make a few extra purchases for this bike, so the old chain ring or chain set was actually so shark tooth, and it was all a one piece from Specialized, so I had to replace that, and with that it meant I also had to replace the bottom bracket, adding up the prices as well. The chain was also very rusted through, so I bought a new chain, cleaned it up, and I've of course got wax because I love a waxed chain. Conveniently, I had a very lightweight Specialized S-Works saddle lying around that came with my S-Works, and you can see the weight difference right here. It is huge. Yes, my wheels are here. And quick disclaimer, Hunt did actually send these to me for free, and in exchange, well, they wanted me to let you know about their H-Care package, £39 for alloy wheels, £59 for carbon wheels, and if you have a crash on any of their wheel sets and you got that package, they'll replace them. And that's a lifetime replacement, by the way, forever. Here are my wheel sets. They come pretty much ready. So they come with the tubeless tape installed, which is a big win in my book. If you just want to go straight to tubeless, I'm actually going to run some TPU inner tubes today, just because I'm going to save the faff for now. I do like the neat and tidy branding from Hunt. It's not overly in your face, it's mostly black, very clean. Here it is, a closer look at my final project with it all put together, and honestly, I think this looks amazing. I know some people aren't going to like the white for winter, but whatever, I'll just clean it. The paint has actually come out very nice, very smooth. I did sand it down and polish it in the end, just to give it a much smoother, cleaner look and make sure there was no bumps from the decals there. The pearlescent green actually comes through really nicely, especially sections where the light shines on it. You can start to see it really come through, and I actually think it's probably the nicest feature of the paint job. The final addition is the wheels, the Hunt wheels, and these are the Hunt Race Aero wide ones. They are an alloy wheel, and I think for winter more than appropriate enough. 31mm deep, they come tubeless ready, and they look really smart. The top stripe I am a fan of. Like I said, I think it's going to split some people, but I wanted to keep something original from the original paint job, just to keep it how it was. The town walls also go very well with the colour here. I really like the town walls. I've gone for a 28mm wide on these town walls purely because I wanted something a little bit wider for winter. They do bulge out a little bit on these tyres and these wheels, but I think as a whole it's worth, there's no really aero penalty for winter, and that is fine by me. Wow, here it is. This is my finished product. This is a project that has taken me over a month and a half to finish from start to end, but honestly I can say this is finally something that I'm genuinely really proud of. And I have weighed it in. This bike comes in at 7.4 kilograms, and that's with pedals, with one bottle cage. I need another, but I think a lot of that was down to the lighter saddle going on, TPU inner tubes, and well, it's a rim brake bike as well, so it's easier to make it lighter. Am I happy with this, and was it worth the money? For me, 100%. Like, I've gone from a frame that I was never realistically going to use again, and now I've got a bike that I want to use. I want to show it off to people. I am going to use this as a winter bike, and some of you are going to be like, Jace, why is there white bar tape on? Why have you got tan sidewalls? Well, because it looks good, that's why. I'll probably replace the white bar tape for black as soon as it gets dirty. Before I go, I do have to say a really big thank you to both Hunt for sponsoring these wheels for me, and secondly to Ooey Customs, because I would not have got any of these decals looking as good if it was not for their help. It's what really made this bike look good in the end. This has been Cycling Unboxed. I've been Jason. I'll see you in the next video.